Welcome to Creative Brain. You can find awesome videos here. So let's get started now. Some unknown facts you need to know about the Joker.
Dark Knight is widely considered one of the greatest comic book movies ever, and regularly ranks toward the top in fan polls about the greatest movies period. Part of the reverence for the film revolves around the legendary performance of Heath Ledger, who passed away before the release of the film that earned him an Oscar. It's well known that Ledger's commitment to the iconic role was complete, down to the way he famously kept a Joker diary while developing the character in isolation.
Why so serious?
Here, we'll take a look at 10 things you never knew about Heath Ledger's Joker, the only actor offered the role. The arrival of Gotham's clown prince of crime was teased at the end of Batman Begins, Christopher Nolan's well-received reboot of the Caped Crusader. Several actors pursued the role. Adrian Brody admitted to MTV News that he'd chased after it. Steve Carell went public with his Joker ambitions. And the late Robin Williams, who worked with Nolan on Insomnia, was another actor whose name was tossed around. But the director has gone on record that Ledger was the only actor he wanted, saying he offered him the role before the Dark Knight script was even finished. Fans were upset about his casting. Heath Ledger's portrayal of the clown prince of crime is legendary. It cast a long shadow over anyone who dared to take on the role in Ledger's wake, including actor and 30 Seconds to Mars frontman Jared Leto, whose Joker and Suicide Squad earned mixed reactions. But once upon a time, the internet was full of outrage over Ledger's casting, with a level of upset, confusion, and fury to rival the kind that met news of Ben Affleck's casting as the Dark Knight and what became Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice. One Redditor wrote that Heath Ledger has the charisma of a lettuce leaf. Narrow-minded fans had trouble envisioning the star of 10 Things I Hate About You and A Knight's Tale in the role, but smarter cinephiles were at least intrigued. After all, Ledger earned an Academy Award nomination for his work in Brokeback Mountain. Jack Nicholson was pretty upset too. Jack Nicholson played the Joker in Tim Burton's Batman, the 1988 film from the Beetlejuice director that was the first of its kind to embrace the darker, brooding version of the hero, depicted in comics like Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns. While Nicholson's Joker was killed off at the end of Batman, there was talk of bringing him back, along with the rest of Batman's rogues gallery, in a fear-gas-induced sequence in what would have been the 5th installment of the franchise, featuring the Scarecrow as the main villain and directed by Joel Schumacher. But the poor reception to the filmmakers Batman and Robin set the studio down the path toward a reboot instead. In a November 2007 interview with MTV News, Nicholson admitted he was, quote, furious when he learned another actor had been cast as the Joker in a Batman movie without anyone consulting him first. Around the same time, Ledger told film reporter Joe McCabe that he would have never sought to compete with Nicholson. If Tim Burton was doing The Dark Knight and asked me to play the Joker, I wouldn't have taken it, because to try and even touch what Jack Nicholson did in Tim Burton's world would be a crime, he said. I knew how Chris was. He had already set up the world for me. I'd seen what world it was that I would be playing in, so I knew it was open for a fresh interpretation. I also instantly kind of had something up my sleeve. Heath Ledger's Joker owes much to Great Britain. Ledger was born and raised in Australia, but the disparate influences he cobbled together, reshaped, and forged into a never-before-seen Joker of his own creation were largely British in origin. The Joker's swagger came from the Sex Pistols' Sid Vicious, with a bit of Alex from Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange. The clothes of Vicious bandmate Johnny Rotten and designer Vivienne Westwood were also inspirations. The Joker first appeared in 1940's Batman #1, a year after the Caped Crusader's own debut in Detective Comics. He was the work of Batman co-creators Bob Kane and Bill Finger, along with artist Jerry Robinson. While all three of these guys were Americans, Ledger's go-to Joker books were written nearly 50 years later by guys born in the UK. He cited 1988's Batman: The Killing Joke, written by English comics legend Alan Moore, and the following year's graphic novel Arkham Asylum, A Serious House on Serious Earth, by Scottish writer and illustrator Grant Morrison. You want to know how he got those scars? Those mysterious scars are based on something from real life called the Glasgow Smile, or the Chelsea Grin, a violent mark left with a knife, broken glass, or some other sharp object. The gruesome practice reportedly originated in Scotland and was popularized on the streets of London by different gangs, like the hooligans of the Chelsea Headhunters. Of course, the Joker never revealed how he got those scars, but we do know that prosthetic supervisor Connor O'Sullivan met a delivery man with a Chelsea Grin and worked up the courage to ask him about it. The man even allowed him to take photos. It was Nolan who suggested Ledger take a look at A Clockwork Orange, as well as some of the paintings of Lord Francis Bacon, which partly inspired the makeup. Ledger worked on ideas with cheap drugstore makeup during his preparation for the role. With input from Ledger and Nolan, makeup artist John Caglione came up with the finished product, which earned him an Oscar nomination for Best Makeup. The bank robbery scene is slightly out of focus. The bank robbery scene was the first thing Nolan shot with Ledger. It was also the first full scene shown to film critics and reporters during the pre-promotion for the film. Nolan realized while looking at the dailies that some of the shots were blurry. They reshot the whole scene, but the director liked Ledger's first pass so much, he decided to use that one in the finished film instead, slightly blurry shots and all.
I believe whatever doesn't kill you simply makes you stranger.
Ledger rode a skateboard around the set. Ledger went method for the development of his take on the Joker, famously locking himself away in a hotel room for long periods of isolation and keeping a twisted diary. But he didn't stay in character between takes. His makeup artist said he'd hug the crew at the beginning and end of each workday and skateboarded around the set. He'd often pull out his Joker journal when it was time to get back into character. Michael Caine was so terrified of the Joker, he forgot his lines. Ledger only did the Joker voice and the laugh when the cameras were rolling, according to Christian Bale. This meant that he wasn't going full-on Joker during rehearsals either. So when it came time to shoot, several of the actors were unsettled by his performance. Michael Caine said he was so startled by the Joker when he emerged from the elevator at Bruce Wayne's penthouse.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
The seasoned actor forgot his lines. The Joker took an actual beating in the interrogation scene. Both Christian Bale and Christopher Nolan have spoken about Ledger's total commitment, particularly in the interrogation scene, which was the first thing the two actors shot together. Ledger kept upping the ante, egging Bale on to hit him for real and throwing himself against the tiled walls. Nolan has been careful to point out that the violence was carefully choreographed, but the impacts were real. The actor twice directed the Joker himself. Ledger was a budding director himself, with a few music videos under his belt, including a clip for Modest Mouse that was released after his death. He had spoken about making a documentary about English singer-songwriter Nick Drake, who overdosed on antidepressants at age 26 in the early 1970s. Ledger had planned to make his feature film directorial debut with an adaptation of The Queen's Gambit, a novel about a chess prodigy. Nolan was impressed enough with Ledger's directing work that he allowed him to helm both of the hostage videos made by the Joker in the film.
Hope you enjoy the video. Please like and share the video. Subscribe to our channel and stay connected with us for more updates.